All right, now we're live. Was on the struggle bus there. But we are good now. 2 more followers on Twitch, man. We need 1 more sub as well. Let's go. Super speed tonight. Thing posted. Try to make a new thumbnail tomorrow as well. What's up, Lude? How's it going, man? You ready for this? Captain. Oh, Captain, my Captain. All right. That's not what I wanted up. This is. There we go. We did it. Hooray. Here till I pass out. All good, all good. Same, honestly. Definitely same. So off stream, I cleaned up this corner a little bit because I screwed up the whole thing last night. I didn't feel like we're sitting here redoing it. So this is all cleaned up. This was all pretty much done. I just added in the lighting and stuff. And I'm just messing with figuring out how to get this to look as good as possible since it's not quite the same as everything else has been. But it's working out. Working out well enough. Can't I build? Oh. I'm like, why can I not build this? But it's coming together. Quite happy with how this entrance connected over here. Feels like a nice little addition. Especially because this is almost perfectly centered, even though these are on completely different build grids. So that part's nice. Love when that works out. Sometimes you just get lucky. I'm also deciding, since it looks so flat here, I'm trying to decide if I want that to add this to each. But I kind of like it how it is. Just looked weird on this one. This looks too thick, though, in my opinion. So I don't really know what I want to do yet. I don't love it. I kind of like that these aren't super high, so you see through them better. So, what's up, Oozin? Welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, but I mean, like, overall, it came together pretty slick. It's not perfect, but not bad. In terms of how it could have gone. Looks a little jank on the outside, but, like, ain't nobody gonna see that. Look away. Close your eyes, guys. What the heck? Also, that's a bunch of wasted bricks. Every brick counts. Especially when we're doing all this crazy detailing. No wasted space. Game plan? Are you winging it tonight? Two things I wanted to do. What? Get over here. Stop that. Okay, what the heck? That just disappeared in that. I have 2 grids going on here, don't I? Yeah, somehow. Had 2 grids going on. Okay. I want to build this down to this edge real fast. So just get this over here so we can start figuring out how it ties into the staircase more and start designing this. Then I can also start figuring out like if I want to make this entrance a little bit more interesting or something. And then I also want to start on the House of the Undying thing. What's up, Jeremy? Welcome in, man. Good to see you. I want to start on that House of the Undying thing tonight. So I'm thinking I've decided I'm going to put it here. Since that it's a decent distance away from this and this, it's about the most amount of space I could possibly fit. I also think, depending on what I do on this side, that's not like 100% set or anything. I can create a kind of cool entrance staircase here and then sort of make this area actually make sense because currently I have no clue. So it might make sense to have like stairs that go up here to a landing and then can go side to side. And then this gets filled in a unique way or something. And then I also like the mini face god house. Yes. Yep. And then I also think, since originally this was just going to be like an empty house of nothing, I think I'm going to make this space sort of a cool entrance of some kind to get in here. Just because I think that's going to be a better use of space. And then I might be able to get rid of like these stairs as well doing that. And maybe be able to figure out what the heck is happening here. Because I have no clue at the moment how this is all working. But I think this will be a nice entrance place. It'll make this side of it, depending on how I can make it work, maybe look taller than the building actually is. So I can kind of be down here and get this extra height, even though it may not technically work out that way. It might be like interior stairs or something. Who knows? But it allows me to build this like facade taller. So I think this is kind of where I want it. It's a little massive, but I think we'll be able to make it work. And then we can build like houses on this side and sort of create the street going, I don't know, out and around it or something. Since you can go down these and up here to get around it. I also like that this is in a different orientation than this. I don't really want 2 big square buildings. Like if I did it over here against that wall, it's too square. If I do it here, it just blocks the entrance of that. So I don't love that either. Of course, it doesn't fit down here. This thing's here now. So it's like, and this space just doesn't quite feel right as well. And I feel like I need some bigger buildings to maybe help this plaza space come to life. Because currently I have no clue what to do with this the plaza as well. This is, if it even ends up, it may not end up being a plaza. I might just make all this the plaza, central plaza, and figure out how to make this look cooler. Whoa. Leg, there we go. Because in all honesty, like this would make, with like maybe staircase or adjusting some of this stuff, I've always really liked all the change in elevation here, but it never felt purposeful. It just was kind of random. So this would be a good place to maybe rethink how this works and make this the plaza essentially. And it doesn't have to be right in the center. Some like housing stuff. Maybe there's some plaza, maybe it's smaller. I can't quite figure out how this whole thing works. So we have a lot of work to do in this whole area. But I think this will be a decent place for this. And I like that it uses 2 elevation points almost. I think that's going to allow for it to be way more interesting. But we'll see. That's kind of what we're messing with. Those are the semi-ideas. I'm like semi just liking the idea. Like I can already picture these being so cool in those rows. Especially because they sit like this. So I'm leaning towards this being the mini faces, but I also, maybe it's like details within details. So it's like it could column there. It could be like every other thing or something. There's a lot of things I could do with it. I like both of them so much. Like, there's a world that maybe both of them work, since we're not looking for an exact replica. We're seeing what happens. Never quite know. Definitely don't understand why these sit in the center here, but... Or only those ones do? This one won't? Cool. The door on that building in the show is one black, one white. What would you think about doing that on the whole build? Think it would fit the style? Like, I guess what do you mean by like two different materials? I just don't know how to make a white and a black door. Why is this one not going? Does it need to have one above it, maybe? Huh? Half the building white shroom, half black ash. I mean the whole building, not just the door. I don't know. I hadn't really even thought about it. Why is this one being weird? It's so random. Why, where they want to place and where they don't, I don't know. I don't know. I could see one or the other. Or... I do like the way this looks, though, so I'm not sure. Apparently, over a certain height, it doesn't want to work. I don't know. Gonna have to mess with that to see if that's even an option, because that might make this better. I mean, so like this is the image. This is the current image. Like that's what it looks like on the outside. So I liked just sort of a squarish building. And then I was maybe thinking of doing this as ash cement. Also just like quarter or the half vertical walls for like some details like this around the whole thing and doing stuff like this. But I hadn't really thought of it being like half and half necessarily. I just started with like shapes in my head. And then was gonna wing it from there. If I can find a way to make it look cool half and half, I'm just worried it's gonna look funky. I don't know. I haven't really tried anything like that, so I have no clue. Yeah, I just kind of wing it and see what happens. If that's where the grounded gods point me tonight, then that's where they point me. Mostly just want to get this to a point where I can spend some time off stream looking at like, how do I build all of these stalls and what are the details I want? I'm gonna have to test out some more ideas and then we can start going with that. I'm at a slight standstill with it though. Yeah, it's so many. That's why I'm trying to like think how this all works out. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be every single one, you know. I think I would like it to have this many. Like, I want it to feel like this crazy big market. So in the long run, yeah, that's the goal. But it's like, how many things can we sell in this game? That's a different question. Or like, we could have a basket one. We could have a like butter churning thing. You could do blacksmith stuff. You could do like just all sorts of little randomness. Excuse me. Whew. This is like, there could be all the buildings that I'm thinking of eventually having could have many stalls here as well. So like, you could have a butcher and you could have the spinning wheel. You could have chests, freezers, flower salesman, beasting hook guys, ladder salesman, have a basketball, guy selling targets, guy selling anvils, a light. You gotta have a light salesman. Look, I mean, all the lights. You could have a lamp salesman. It's a good one. A candle salesperson. Chair or furniture, a furniture outlet. We're gonna need one of those. A rug salesman, of course. That's obvious. A partition salesman. A brewery. I mean, I did kind of use... I've used these as barrels before, I think, which worked decently well. I think you had some of it too. A clock salesperson. A trash salesperson. This is more of the furniture again. A woodworker. A sculptist. Although these are just too big. That's the only issue with those. Wish you could shrink those down. Pot. A pot salesman for Uzin. Firework. You gotta have a firework sales stall. That's for sure. Be weird gong person. Just selling this. A hot tub salesperson. You need that. This could be either the butcher or like the taxidermist stall. And then maybe like little bugs in a stall. That's a lot of random stalls. I don't think that's gonna fit every single one of these. And I had thought of like doing some stuff on this side as well. I didn't want it to just be one side, so I don't know. It's ridiculous. We're shooting for the stars, to say the least, with this. Go through and get these built. Stuffed bug seller, exactly. Book them in, Pepe. Welcome in, Gary, as well. And then from there, who knows what we do? Be crossovers. Or someone sells both things. Double dipping. Millions of detail is the idea. That's my thought, at least. The more the merrier on this one, I think. I think that's what's going to actually bring this whole one to life. Going to need a lot. Luckily, it looks cool already, but it needs a lot more detail to feel like a marketplace. Not just going to feel like it out of nowhere. This is an interesting part. I don't know if we're going to do... Since I've raised this side, it's a little weird figuring out how these are going to connect. I might have to skip this. Do this. Skip this. Kind of see how that goes. What's up, Harley? The Subnautica 2 trailer? Oof. Pure excitement. The fact... I'm excited about two things in that. The new Leviathans and stuff, the crabs and all that, look horrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So I'm quite happy with that. And the fact that the discussion is that it is a new world, a new planet, or a new... I think it's new planet, complete new planet. But same universe, different world, so you kind of open up the absolute creativity, which I'm really excited about. Like, we're not stuck on, okay, well, we have to use a ghost Leviathan, and we have to use a sea dragon, and we have to, like, we're not going to be stuck with that because it's a different planet, and so it's just completely new. Like, plants and fauna seems exactly what I was wishing for from the beginning. So I think it's going to be really cool. And the things, like, for it not even being out in early access already look, like, visually compelling, which looks great to me. I mean, the interiors is always hard. Yeah, it definitely takes some time to figure out the insides, but it's all good. It's part of the fun of the challenge. Just pulled up. You talking about Subnautica? Yeah. We are talking about the Subnautica 2 trailer that was just released. Well, last day or two. Very excited about playing Subnautica 2. Should be a very, very fun one. I've been waiting for that for ages. Way too long. One over. These ones are always centered. I keep forgetting. I am a huge Subnautica fan, though. Grounded and Subnautica are pretty much my favorite survival type games. Want multiplayer? Don't even care if they change it. It is 4-person multiplayer, so you got it. It's already guaranteed. I was expecting, like, split screen, honestly. So the fact that they like fully announced 4-player multiplayer is pretty cool. That's very, very exciting. I have not played Ark before. I've seen a decent amount of, like, content on it, though, so I know a bit about it. It was never quite visually my style of game. It was always just a little jank. Fun in its own right, though, for sure. I'd like to build in the day. Oh yeah, I'll probably still play solo as well. Especially if I'm streaming it and mega building and stuff, I'll guaranteed be playing solo, but the fact that it has that option is pretty dope. I would have fun playing with my brother at some point or something, like offline. Okay, where was I? Get all these copied out. Stop it. Lord have mercy. It ain't working. There we go. Struggle is real. Eventually I'll figure out how to build properly. Quicker. Almost got it. Excited for the building overhaul? Very, very, very excited. That's like the reason I absolutely love Subnautica. The whole progression of the game, everything, the survival, the visual, every part of it I've enjoyed. But building really ridiculously beautiful bases in that game is what I fell in love with more than anything. Especially because there was nothing else to do in the game when you finished, really. So for me, it was like, I'm just going to keep building and building and building. And now I'll get to stream and build, which is even more fun. So I'm very, very excited about that. And I have no clue what they're even going to do, so I'm sure I'll pretty much play all the way through early access, but very excited to see what happens. The only issue is it's not out already. Sooner the better, realistically. I don't have the patience to wait anymore. Just want it to be out already. And very few people made like good content on like building. Handful of people that just did some silly stuff, but no one really like made content on building. It was just always really random and sporadic, so I'm very interested to see how that does. Some of the make build stuff has crazy amounts of views, and the build system wasn't even anything like that crazy originally. It's pretty simple. It got way better when they finally added the Subnautica below zero stuff. That's when the Subnautica 1 build stuff got more interesting. Like the larger, better rooms. But I still had tons of fun with just like alien containment things and all that fun stuff. I had way too much fun doing that. Just like Grounded, honestly. I'd probably beat Subnautica 6-7 times now, easily. Pretty safely to say that much, at least. Doing all this right, I think. Big is the save you have for Grounded? I don't know the size of it. This world is just over 2,300 days, I think. 2,343. That's the actual size on here anywhere. Quite big. You haven't seen it. Oh, what am I doing? You haven't seen any of the builds, let me know and I can fly around them real quick. That will give you an idea of scale. Quite a ridiculous scale is what I would say. I could. It'd be a good little spot to do like one little shelf. These. Put some things there or something. Still gonna do the bridges across though. They are gonna end. No, they can be exactly the same actually, I think. Should be fine. Yeah. This one will work. These wouldn't work as well. I'd have to build columns, which I don't want. I've seen many, I've basically just seen Koi Pond. I mean the Pagota. This thing. Yeah, this is build 1. All that. There's a million items in this thing. And then this is the sandbox build, which is big base tower, main castle, supporting turret things, the wizard's tower. This is the Great Hall build, the crypt down below here with like tombs and stuff. There's the observatory telescope build thing. Fun little thing. There's a secret tunnel that goes under there. The supporters temple. For anyone who subscribes to the channel or anything. You get your name on a chest, which I need to update here soon. I haven't done a very good job at that. The cathedral, which is right about when I started streaming, is when I started building this. Building? Still one of my best builds so far. Turned out epic. Very, very epic. And it's still not even done. There's going to be a giant basement down here that I have to figure out. Slowly but surely, though. What am I missing? We got this church thing we just built. More color? There's not really many colors. What do you mean? This is a little housing district that we finished up recently. Kind of. Still needs a little work, but then the bathhouse with the hot tubs and the little oasis thing. This is a very fun build with these like skylight things. Pot palace up on top. And then we're working through the marketplace currently, just this massive thing. Just like an outdoor, indoor, partially covered market. The only color is like weed stems and grass, right? But I would love to dye my mushrooms different colors. That would be pretty epic. That would make life very easy. That all lined up. Yep, okay, we're good. Make sure I don't screw anything up. And get these. Come on now. There's lots of lighting, but you can't see it until you're really close. Not colored lighting, but lighting. The insides are where I have the different lighting colors and stuff. But all of this is just standard lighting. Torch colors. When you get inside, that's where all the colors happen. At least in this build. I have a bit of other colored stuff, but I use it very sparingly. Prefer one lighting type, typically. My Pagota base has, like, rainbow floors and stuff, though. And all sorts of rainbow bridges and random stuff like that. There's only certain places I like using the color. So I'm very selective about when I add that to pop a color. Just in the terms of like trying to keep this whole thing consistent across all the builds in some way. Could add flowers to dye your building, yeah. Wouldn't suck, that's for sure. I would not complain. Any form of more customization in building I would take. I don't care what it is. Literally anything. As long as it's building, I'm game for any ideas. I can make something out of any of it. Oh, yeah, these all need... Well, I did that across all of the other ones. I mean, technically they have flowers. They would just have to like adjust the flower petal colors. And they have flower petals that you could like grind. So it's basically already there. You just have to make individual flowers and individual color dyes at that point. But with the current team, ain't happening, sadly. There is no new content of any kind, and I don't think they're ever going to add any more blueprints or anything either. I think they have a handful of things like the Scarecrow currently, stuff like that that's coming in. But I think the majority of that was already done. Pretty sure they had this, and that's probably why they're having issues with the Halloween stuff currently, is because they built it a long time ago. Because they leaked the Lucky Hat and that stuff ages ago. I can't imagine that they even have anyone to make those models or anything special anymore on the team. Hard to say though. You never know. Hey, let me out. That's on the stairs, so probably won't do one there. Sure, that's one way to do that. The roof thing on. Is there so many more subs? We'll get there. It's just a time thing, honestly. They'd be there if I had started streaming 6 months earlier to a year, that would make a big difference in terms of how many subs I have. What the heck did I join into? The coolest building grounded stream in the universe. Coolest grounded build in the world is what you've joined. Nothing compares. We're building the best grounded city that anyone's ever seen. Little by little. That is what almost 3,000 hours get you. The rumbling would go great with that. But yeah, that's what we do. We mega build and grounded. And this is what we're mega building. I also have another base over in the Pagota as well. That's like my original base. The one and only Pagota base. Yeah, that's the one. It's survival adjacent. It's kind of transformed the longer and longer I've played. So for the first... Until I played from 1.0 to the 1.2 patch that added the wasps in the Brawny Boy bin, that's when they added the handy net. So I played 100% survival and on WoW for the vast majority of that. Until 1.2, which was 700-800 days, maybe closing in on 1,000 days. And then I turned the game to custom to get the handy net, which is what I'm currently using at the one just after the 1.2 update. And then I played on that. I turned off faction reactivity after I finished the Pagota base and was just kind of over raid after raid while I was getting all the gold cards and stuff. So then I turned faction reactivity off, and then once the fully yoked update came out, I shortly after switched to... It's still survival, still same custom, but I increased the resource spawning rates to 5 times. Just to help speed up the process. So I do still collect all the materials, they just spawn faster is the only difference. So survival adjacent is the way. I still fight all the bosses. I still have like been RNGing my life away, getting the new plus for the infused weapons and stuff, boss weapons. Still collect materials every day. It's just a slightly hybrided system. Which makes life enjoyable. Definitely was a grind for a long time, but I still enjoy collecting materials. Just got boring waiting 5 days for Ash and Lint to respawn, really. Sometimes you need to kill the Broodmother to get the golden card. I mean, you can get it the first time. There's no specific number, it's just a 10% drop rate. So, I mean, I fought her quite a few times now, but I think I got it after the 10th try, maybe? 11th? If I want to remember correctly, it was a long time ago. I've only killed her 60 times, but I got it really quick. But it could take you, I think it took me 50 tries for the mantis. So it's 100% RNG. Sadly. That probably doesn't make you feel better, but that's the truth. Yeah. I mean, I know people and have heard people on the Discord. Of course, you never quite know if they're being truthful, but at the same time, it's 100% possible that I've gotten it first try. But one gold card, I mean, there's in every situation, there's one person that has gotten the gold card on the first try, and there's one person that's had to do it 1,000 times. Like, that is the struggle of RNG. Usually the boss ones tend to be easier, though, I find. Just because they're a 10% rate, which is better than the standard bugs. Yeah, it's just fight away. That's all you can really do, sadly. I enjoyed that process, though. As a completionist, I did enjoy getting gold cards. I really enjoyed getting gold cards until the last one I had was the sickly roly-poly. That I didn't enjoy. There's not enough of them that spawn. So it was pretty miserable getting that. They're on a slow respawn timer. There's not very many of them. What can you do, though? Sometimes they're just a struggle. I think every person struggles with a different gold card at one point. Like See-Through, who was another content creator for a long time, in Grounded, and I don't know if he ever got the Ladybug gold card. He streamed every single night. He could have fought more of them, of course, and done waft emitter raids and all that as well if he really wanted it, but hello, I have a question. I did hot deposit, but I have a lot of chests and I can't find a certain item. How is there any way of knowing which chest did it go to? Unfortunately, the only way to know is what chest has the same items. So if you know which chest, like if it was like a trinket or something, if you have a chest with trinkets, it's going to be in that chest or chests. But there's no like exact way of figuring out which chest it went into randomly. The only requirement is that it has to have items of the same type in the chest already for it to hot deposit. So if you know how well your stuff's organized, that may not be very difficult. But if you don't know where some of your stuff is, then you're doomed. You're just going to have to go through every single chest. But like I have like the trinkets and stuff are the annoying one to me, typically. They can be a struggle. You accidentally hot deposit them. But yeah, not a surefire way to figure out which chest, other than just hopefully knowing where similar items would be. I can't tell you how many times I had like I always ate aphid jerky, and I kept forgetting when I built this new base that I didn't change hot deposit on that specific chest type. So I kept depositing my aphid jerky and then being like, where the heck is all my food? And then I'm an idiot. Oh, I forgot all of these. Didn't I? Yeah. Went through all my chests and I still can't find them. What did you lose? What is it? Don't know if that helps me at all, but might. Good thing I went back through. Missing stuff everywhere. Come on now. I does not want to place. There we go. Blaster? What would that deposit with, though? Unless you have another chest with blasters, I don't think it would just deposit. I can't think of any situation where it would auto-deposit that unless you have a chest with another one of those in it. I don't think there's anything it would deposit with other than another one of those. You'd have to have a second one. I guess the question is, are you sure that you weren't running around and it got dropped from like an infected gnat or something? Or you accidentally threw it? Like, I've done that 100 times. Yeeted a weapon. That'd be my only guess. Pretty hard to deposit a moldy matriarch blaster. But pretty easy to yeet one across the map. I am very good at chucking my infused axe in places that I don't want it to be. Done that many, many times. I do the hot deposit. It said the blaster got deposited. Weird. I don't think I got anything specific for that one. You're just gonna have to look through every chest 10 times. It is really easy to overlook stuff, honestly. Think of any random chests you might have, but I can't understand why that specific weapon would ever get deposited. That part seems weird. I can't think of a condition of where that would deposit other than another chest that has that exact weapon type in it. Like, let's see. Do I have one of those? I had a blaster at one point. Somewhere. Alright, blaster and a blaster. Yeah. Like the infused one doesn't even, like you'd have to have a blaster in that chest. It's the only way it would work. Like we can double check. The only other way that I would do it is like maybe in a chest with the infected broodmother parts in it, but I don't think that is a thing either, yeah. I have all the parts up in these chests. But it has to be some chest that already has a blaster in it. So you're gonna have to find a chest that you randomly put a blaster in already. And I'm guessing you probably never built a second blaster, so that's where I would be confused. I need to dupe my hammer, don't I? And my antlion greatsword, don't I? Yeah. I never even finished like reorganizing this whole thing. We definitely have a little bit of work to do at the Pagota at some point, but I haven't been motivated to do that. All right, let's dupe. That's nothing. Worth. I'll make another one and go chest by chest. I mean, can't really think of any other way to do it, unfortunately. Because, like, if you build another one and then hot deposit, like, you'll just have 2 missing at that point. So you won't learn anything from, like, another hot deposit is the struggle, right? So say that's the unfortunate part. Look at that. We got all the infused weapons up now. Imagine you could get into the house and steal a Hot Wheels car. Dude, I loved those Hot Wheel racetrack games. Those were so fun. I don't even remember what they were called. I used to play that stuff all the time, though. Give me a Hot Wheels track any day. Honestly, we just trashed this. Who cares? Look at that. We're getting tasks done, guys. Glad to help where I can, Josue. Not that I was much help, but always happy to help where I can, at least. I'd love to make a racetrack out here. I'd do that all day, too. We'll build a city world and a racetrack world. Sounds like a great time. I used to, in Halo Forge, I would build Warthog and Mongoose racetracks, like endless racetracks. They're so fun. I wish I had some of those. My brother, I think those were on Xbox, actually. Not the original. My brother still has our original Xbox. But I'm pretty sure I did all of that on Xbox 360, so that thing's long gone. That thing got the Ring of Death ages ago. It was a sad day when I got the Red Ring of Death. Build is pure insanity. In the best way. Thank you. Thank you, MJ. We're having some fun with it, for sure. It just seems to get crazier every single day. I always think, surely I've built the next, like, this is the coolest thing. I can't build other cool things. There's just no way. And then somehow we find other cool stuff. Or someone else on the Discord builds something really cool that inspires me to build something even crazier. It's just a never-ending cycle. I wish the house was accessible with tons of other missions. Yeah, the struggle with the house is just the scale of it. You should try... I wish I knew the actual name of it. There is a playgrounds. Someone built out a playgrounds map for that. Like, they built the house, essentially. And it's really cool, but it's also, like, the scale is just wrong for this game, unfortunately. I can see, I always was a big component of getting, like, the house and stuff as well. I I really thought that would be a cool addition, but when I saw that specific playground, I was like, I understand why they didn't do it, because there's just so much like dead space that you're like, what do you fight? Games are just Hot Wheels games, but also Forza has DLC. Forza would be a good one. I used to play a lot of Forza back in the day. Great games. Love me some Hot Wheels though. Definitely can't go wrong with that. Play Lego with Flocka Builds, but me and him have been playing Grounded off stream, and he told me to check out your channel. This is next level. Interesting. Glad to hear it. I played a little bit of Lego. Not much. I'll have to check out Flocka Builds. For some reason, that name does sound familiar. That right? Definitely think I've seen something of theirs. Oh, I'll have to check them out later. They still blows my mind. That's the whole goal, right? It'd be pretty sad if I did all of this and it wasn't very good, you know? Would be pretty sad. Have they fixed the like build limitations and stuff in Lego Fortnite, or is that still a problem where you can't really build very big? That was my issue, is I got into it and I was like, build him, it's not big enough. I can't make a build. Probably a decent sized for the average person, but wasn't enough for me. Fair share of disappointments, but as someone who loves Fortnite and loves building survival games, so I've stuck with it. There were definitely some interesting aspects to it. Definitely some interesting aspects to it. I was talking about this last night. I think the biggest turnoff for me was that I had to pay for builds. That's where they lost me more than anything. Wait, which one are you talking about, Jeremy? Too many subjects going on in my brain. Or which game, I guess. Yeah. I was really excited. I'm a huge Lego fan. So I was like, I was about to drop my whole life and change everything to Lego Fortnite. And then I was like, nope, never mind. This is absolutely not going to cut it. But it was really cool. Like, don't get me wrong. I thought the game was very interesting and fun at the same time. So I could definitely see why people still build it or play it. It just doesn't, unfortunately, meet the needs that I have. Slight bummer, but it's all good. Maybe one day they'll figure it out. I just loved that the game had near... I mean, if they had done it perfectly, even close to perfect, it would like it had the potential to be like a Minecraft level game, which is what I was like saying last night. Like, Lego has all the things you need to be an absolutely like never-ending survival game in the same way that Minecraft has been. It hits every age bracket. It hits every like childhood memory for people, so it's like even better than Minecraft in that sense. Lego is just inherently more interesting than blocks. The endless pieces they could just add once a year, like to just keep it going forever. It had endless potential for content, at least, is what I was hoping. Build content specifically. Found them in chest clothes, but not in my base, but outside of it. Found them in a chest close by. That's funny. That's what I was saying. I was like, you must have just some... I was like, he's got to have some super random chest he forgot about. I've 100% done that as well. It's so funny, though. It definitely happens to the best of us, though. Well, the question is, how the heck do we tie this in? Maybe it just goes over. We just find a way to fill in this detail. Hello? No, it's fine. I didn't want to build that there anyways. Oh, it's this. I don't know how I want to do this. Could be one way. Oh, Halo. Yeah. Dude, I loved Forge in Halo. It was so cool. It was always really fun. I always just ended up building racetracks for all my buddies. Just ridiculous racetracks. That works, but is it correct? Hard with these stairs, but maybe the stairs now is what gets adjusted. So we like bring these over. These stairs get moved. The only reason this was a thing was because I felt like I needed to fill the gap. Cross my fingers, they start focusing on quality of life updates and glitch and building limits, complaints versus battle passes. Curious what other building games have you enjoyed? I built in a lot of really random games. I think Grounded's the first like survival game that I've done this level of building. I mega built stuff in Subnautica. I've done building like Animal Crossing Horizons. I did a crazy big city in that, or town, village, whatever you want to call it. Of course, like I said, I did like roller coasters and stuff. I built a bunch of stuff in Minecraft, as did everyone. Minecraft and Halo Forge were probably the first games that got me like really into building and having fun with it. And then I got in a super big kick of just playing first person shooters and stuff for quite a long time. And then randomly one of my buddies that played Valorant with was like, dude, you guys should play Grounded with me. I'm like, what are you talking about? I hadn't played a building game in a really long time. And are your Subnautica vids on the channel? No, unfortunately, all the Subnautica stuff was on a previous computer that I had that exploded, essentially. It had a major implosion, and I have nothing on that anymore, so I don't have any of those saves. And I didn't have any of the cloud stuff or anything when I was doing that ages ago. Unfortunately. But the hope is that when Subnautica 2 comes out, we'll just resume as if that never happened. And we'll see where we go from there. If the videos were on my channel, they would be Like I built the ultimate shallows base. I had this ridiculous, massive shallows base, like right near the start where the giant coral tube thing is. That you can swim through really early on, and just went nuts from there. Stuff was like went in and out of that, and it was really cool. I wish I could do a base tour of that. I started rebuilding it and then got distracted with all the grounded stuff that I never got to finishing it. And unfortunately, they had changed something as well that didn't let me build exactly in the same spots, so I didn't end up finishing it. Yes, it was totally iconic and amazing. I'm super, super excited. Absolutely can't wait for that game to come out. I still, like... I didn't get to play Grounded in early access. I'm sure this would take the cake. But I loved the period of... I played Subnautica all the way through early access, pretty much from like the very, very beginning. And had so much fun playing that whole system, that whole thing. It's just so good. So I destroyed my bridge to make it better. I'll post on your Discord tonight. Let's go. Oh, right now. Yeah. Definitely, definitely. Yeah, and for anyone in here that isn't, feel free to join the Discord. Post a lot of people. There's a handful of people building and grounded all the time in there that are always posting little updates and stuff if you want to see cool builds. There is some really cool stuff that people have built. I'm a great builder, but there's some other really good builders in there as well. I've replayed both of them so many times. I'm really playing that they add more building mechanics. It does sound like there's going to be like a full reworks sort of it. So the likelihood is good. And if it's really good, I'm going ham on that. I also will be most likely playing as we get closer and closer to inevitably finishing the sandbox build and potentially running out of build limit in Grounded. Which I haven't seen signs of it being too bad recently. I had a phase where I had some major issues with crashing, but I think I've resolved that by getting rid of some random stuff. But the hope is that we'll be playing it some more Enshrouded as we go. I'm very excited to make a build in Enshrouded. I also sort of did mega building in Don't Starve together with my wife, building really cool bases that I no longer have as well. And then we built a really cool farm in Stardew Valley. Then I also, the only video that's not Grounded content is, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. And I found playing Hogwarts Legacy, I found a mod that allowed you to like completely customize the build system, and so I ended up building a really cool base, like room of requirement base in Hogwarts Legacy is another thing. There is a video of that build, just like a tour, nothing too crazy, but that was a lot of fun too. Any game that has any form of building in it, I can find some enjoyment. For me, it's really just stylistically is what I'm interested in. I don't love the 7 Days to Die, Sons of the Forest, like semi-realistic stuff. I like the more fantasy, more interesting stuff. Multiplayer 2 is going to be, it's going to be so good. I'm so excited. 4-person. I probably won't even play. I might play with my brother. I think is probably one of the people I would play with, but I am excited everything that they're doing. I'm going to ask you about Enshrouded. I would die to see what you could create. I do have a base idea. I kind of want to come to a conclusion of this sandbox build, or at least get closer to it. I think in the next update, I might hop back into Enshrouded 1 or 2 nights a week as well, just to play some other stuff. I've done a little bit of streaming on Enshrouded, but we haven't really done base building per se. I've done essentially like the really, really rough layout and foundation work for the build that I'm going to be doing. But I do have a build that I want to do for Enshrouded that I think will be pretty cool. Now, the scary thing is there are some incredible builders in Enshrouded already. So, not necessarily people making a lot of content on it, but there are some freaking ridiculous builds already out there. So I'm a bit behind the curve in that sense. We'll see how it all works. I think my build idea is going to be interesting. I have not played Power World. Seemed comical, but not necessarily the most like I could do. Might as well, I guess. Watch hours of the Enshrouded builds, especially when they have the build competitions. Those builds were, dude. Those base, all of them, were crazy. I was a little bit frustrated that I had not started playing Enshrouded. I had like just briefly played. I maybe had like 80 hours in it or something, like little over a week or two, if that, just screwing around with things and getting through the base game. And I was like, I have so much grounded stuff I want to do. So I moved on, and still to this day, I'm mad I didn't start building in that game sooner. Luckily, it's still early access and there's ages to go, and they'll probably do other build competitions when they figure it out. And I probably wouldn't salty because the whole build competition was a mess anyways, so it probably ended up the way it was meant to be in all reality, but I was a little disappointed in myself for not jumping on that ship faster. Because being part of a build competition would have been really fun. Winning anything or not, I think I would have had a lot of fun doing stuff with it. The heck? I think Enshrouded building is a bit intimidating because they allow for so much flexibility, which is incredible. I'm just so used to so many limitations. Yeah, I think that's one thing. Some of the charm that I enjoy in Grounded's building is that it isn't limitless, in the sense that, like, I think I'm proving that there is an endless combination of things you can put together to make interesting builds. It has its limitations, so it like forces some of the decisions for you. So I think it's a little bit more approachable in terms of building. I think that also limits people's, like, I think that's why there's not as many. There's a lot of, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really cool builds in Grounded, but I think some people think of it as a simple building system unless they really get into it and spend tons and tons of time doing it. But I enjoy the little bit of simplicity that it does have, because it frees up my mind to just do other things and come up with the crazy builds and stuff and find ways to, essentially how a fellow builder who I have base tours on my channel for, Luderav, is like, it creates a fun way to like break the game and figure out how to do interesting combinations that no one else has figured out. Whereas like Enshrouded is literally limitless amounts of customization, and then I have to like get in and learn the Builder's Companion mod to get some of the functionality that I would like to have in building and get all the decoration pieces and stuff. So it is a an intimidating start. And the build mechanics, in my opinion, are clunky. I think with time spent, they'll feel good enough that I don't think it'll be like necessarily a bad thing, but they do feel clunky compared to like Grounded's build system that just feels almost effortless to me at times. Partially because I put so many hours into it, but with the handy net and that kind of stuff, it's like the building in this game is so easy. You can just go. Never too far behind. Believe me, people interested in the game are always looking for awesome builders. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, luckily with it being in early access still, I can kind of pop in and out of it as I choose. And once it hits 1.0 and sounds like they're going to console or at least Xbox, it will open up a huge amount of player base. So before the end of the year, I'm going to be jumping into it more and more, little by little. I just have to get these builds done and grounded to feel fulfilled. Yeah, clunky. Clunky is the way I would describe it. Good, interesting, tons of potential. Clunky at times, though. And again, I think that will be fixed with more time spent building in it. But it's one of those things. It's going to take a little time to get there. It's just like cumbersome, almost, trying to do everything. Not necessarily bad, but just cumbersome at times. Okay, let's see how we're going to tie this together. Totally fine with this. Just coming straight up these and build some walls just down like this. See how this works. Don't mind a little random hidden space. Guess I don't want those mushrooms either. Guess this could just die right into here, honestly. Which means you could just take could just get rid of this little thing, since technically it's going to look exact. Well, it's almost exactly the same. With just a vertical one of these. Or even better, maybe. Yeah, good enough. And then we just close this off. And I could close all those, but I'm not sure if I want to use that extra material or not yet. We have so many items placed, I do need to be semi-conscious of how many things I'm using. Can't get too out of hand. What's my brain? That. Why is this messing with my mind? That side drops lower because of the other thing. Okay, that's fine. Is what it is. Let's get these built. then all the crimes will be hidden. The flooring. I think we are well past 2 out of hand. You're not wrong. I just say that because like a month or so ago, my computer was crashing every time I opened Grounded. Because that makes this part weird. Because of memory issues. And it was because I had like stem flooring like this placed probably what, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 wide like this, and then around the entire thing. And the blueprints I've then figured out through some testing and some other people's experiences that blueprints tend to be the worst for like memory and stuff. They seem to be the hardest on a computer, unfortunately. So gotta figure out this now. So after deleting those and a million other things that I just randomly had built around my entire world, the crashes stopped, and I've built since then all of this, all this. I've added details that I didn't previously have in things. I've added more foundations and stuff, and I haven't had any crashes since then. So I think blueprints specifically were just causing some major issues. Yeah, and one other person on the Discord figured out that they went through and deleted all the blueprints they had because they almost exclusively built out of blueprints, and then they realized that their game was running miserably bad, and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, this is running way better on console all of a sudden. Which, I mean, blueprints make sense because they're like half of a built item. It's not a real built thing. It's a very weird little situation that they create for the game's memory, trying to like hold on to that. And then it's like rendering things behind them as well, which is always a slightly more intensive process as well, since you have to see everything through them. The transparency and stuff, I think, is a big part of the issue. Okay, so then this and that get to go. Actually, duh. This is perfect. I had thought I wanted one that's not going to get stuck. I wanted a way to get up to this thing, which, perfect. Made the gangplank, now I can follow through with it. That's great. That'll work perfect for that. The other side can live with. Actually, that's perfect. That will work for me. Want that out of there. Kind of looks like an arch almost. I might leave that just as a small little thing. With the grounded build limitations, you definitely have to be open to non-perfection times. Definitely can't expect things to go exactly how you plan them. And on stuff this big, you definitely have to be a little more willing to make slight mistakes, the small details are hardly ever seen. There we go, though. It's connected. And holy cow, this was not what I was expecting when I was building this. This thing's nuts. I've been staring at this frickin' flat platform for months. Just going, what? I want like a marketplace. I want like a shopping area, but like, ow, how does it even fit in here? And I was not expecting it to end up like this. Because each one of these things here is going to get its own like stall as well. I'm just messing with designs and figuring out how I want to do this. And then we'll slowly add in all these different details and stuff as we go. But it feels good to get this like outlined, and now I can spend some time off stream like messing with the little shop designs, because I almost am going to do every single one of them slightly different. They may not all be totally different. They might be totally different. I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet. But feels good to now have the basis of it started, so I can actually start figuring that stuff out. Just get all these last little things done. I remember all the details that I've done. I always miss some little thing, but randomly find it going, oh, that's a funny piece to miss, like those. I could do a walkway as well on this side, but that just means more materials, which I'm not like super stoked about. Like, I'm kind of fine leaving these open just because it's so much burr just to fill it for something that will almost never be seen. If you're standing here, that looks totally fine. You have no clue that that's just a pit of death. And that staircase works perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping for, just to be able to walk along this whole thing. Love it. Okay. Do some bigger markets, like a shop that takes 2 of those. That is a good idea, honestly. That's probably a good way to go. I was messing around. For anyone that was here at the very beginning of the stream, I was just joking about the different things that could be shops, and it was just like, okay, well, there's a refrigerator salesperson, and a ladder salesperson, and a Target salesperson, a pet house salesperson, a light salesperson. Like, trying to come up with all the random little stalls. Like, what could you even do? There's a guy that sells lamps, but only 2 types of lamps. The guy that sells some random thing. It's a chandelier emporium somehow. I mean, if we do chandeliers, there's like 5 or 6 of them now. Where's the other one? You can do ceiling fans, which is kind of its own chandelier. Chairs, furniture salespeople. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the mantis one, where is that? Oh yeah, why is it? I still don't understand why that one's there. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Yeah. Candle salesperson. A brazier salesperson. Like a weapon person. Just all sorts of stupid stuff. Issue is like, it's like, oh, you could do like a sculptor and whatever, but like these are massive. So like what? This is going to be one of them? That might be a good way to fill in one of these or something as well. In the sense that like they don't all necessarily need to be vendors. They could be like interesting details like that. Can't forget a taxidermist. I actually, funny enough, for the city as we go through it, like as long as we have the space in terms of the build limit to add all the interior details that I'd like to add to these buildings. I already have a bug stables, but then it'd be like a blacksmith, an apothecary, an herbalist, an inn, a pub, a butcher, an armory, a range, a shooting range, a taxidermist, a tailor, a barracks, a windmill. Like, I have all these different ideas for random buildings that are just take essentially what these mini shops are, and they'll be their version, but in like an actual house. Yeah, one guy maybe gets a couple stalls for his statues, but even like these, like that, honestly, as that is, like the fact that this lines up so well, like looks very fitting there. So I might utilize some of those details to like, maybe every single one doesn't need to be a vendor. Maybe some of them just get interesting details as they go. Doesn't have to be this like too overly thought thing. Try not to think too hard. Fill these in too. Did that one, just not this. Perfect. I'm sure I'll notice some other random thing. But we're at a good spot now. We're started. We're moving forward. An art gallery, yeah, that would be a good one too. I have an art gallery at my Pagota base, so it'd be perfect to just do a sales. The scale, this is always the hard thing. Like this, although it looks big in the HandyNat, the difference between that and how big this looks is the perspective from the teens makes this it's so much crazier when I actually get out and see how big the thing I built was. And half the details aren't even in it yet. We're just getting started. This is just the outer structures. And then the next build, while I'm mentally contemplating how to make these shops work, and I also want to try to focus on getting all the exterior buildings built before diving in and doing like the market stalls. If we're getting close to the build limit, I don't want to start building the market stalls and then run out of the build limit and not finish the like housing districts and stuff. I think this is more important to me at the moment, to get all of this built out the way this is, and then from there we'll start adding details for however long it'll let us add details. But it'll be a little by little. I gotta figure out a cool thumbnail for this as well. Ooh, dude. The little bit of shadows, it looks way better. It'll look a lot nicer when the fog is removed as well. I wish the rendering distance worked better. What I was hoping for was to be in the middle of this and then have the cathedral in the background, but of course it doesn't load in from this distance, except for those 15-20 pieces too. You set up them side by side, like shop, statue, and it keeps going. That's one way to work it, yeah. Yeah, but I have to like calculate out how many. I'm gonna have to count all the stalls, then count the ideas for those stalls that I have, and then we'll fill in the gaps with stuff with statues, or could just be interesting designs. It doesn't even have to be statues necessarily. Who knows what I come up with. I have a water salesman, you know. One dude selling water. For the longest time, do I still have the water things here? Yeah, for when I first got in here, I had these. I've never gotten rid of them because these dew collectors were how I got all my water, because you were going through thirst so much more in the sandbox. So I had to have that set up, and I never took them away. Little details. So with that being done, we're pretty much ready to start messing with this next build, which, if you don't know, the main inspiration for this city originally is King's Landing from Game of Thrones. I've used a lot of inspiration from that city as a whole, looking at just images on how to lay the city out and all sorts of different stuff. So the hope is that... So I've been using that as my sort of reference point, the show in general, just because I think they have a lot of really interesting, cool stuff they've done with it so far. With all the city design and the different landmarks, all the cool stuff they've done in that show. I was always a big fan of it. So the idea that this building is currently working out, not that this is part of King's Landing, but the House of Black and White is a really interesting theme and idea to me. I really like the building itself. As sort of a different shape than what I've currently been doing. So this is the image I'm sort of working off of, is more square building, and then just going to add in different materials and different things to make it look cool. And then I was messing with some ideas. That's what this little thing you may have seen in here is the house of the many-faced god. Essentially has faces all throughout the inside of it. So it's horrifying and creepy and weird. And I was like, how cool would it be to take like an armor dummy and find a way to make that work, to like show off just the faces or all the helmets in the game, and add in some cool building, because I want another building around this size. It doesn't have to be this massive, huge thing, but something interesting visually, something that's slightly different looking, which I thought would be kind of a cool spot here, and then has the housing kind of like wraps around it and goes crazy. But one more like landmark building is the way I like to think of it, is like the bigger buildings sort of act as like landmarks for all the little buildings to just sporadically be built around them. And I don't want just tons of little buildings throughout here, so I think something here would be kind of nice. And then messing with the ideas with Luderav on stream the other night, I kind of messed with these two ideas of, you can stack the mant braziers, although I can't get this one to place for some reason, so I don't know if this will work or not. Or just like creating some seated squat position and then using the armor dummies like this all throughout the inside. So there'd be 100 plus different armor dummies, each with their own mask, or you'd have repeats and stuff. But going to be incredible if you don't run out of any memory issues. Yeah, that's the plan. That's the hope, right? Luckily, I haven't had any form of issues recently. I think deleting all of the blueprints was the major issue. And then I also went under like the entire map here and cleared out every extra foundation block and random block that I've built. I just keep cleaning things up, and I'll go over to the Pagota base. If you haven't seen this, this is my main base. If you haven't seen this thing, this is my claim to fame. But this is my actual base. And I have no problem coming over here and getting rid of like this farm, because I've never once used it. I just built a farm because I felt like I wanted the farm and I never use it or cut things down. So it's like all wasted material. I'll go delete this thing that I don't have for any reason anymore. I'll clean up some of this stuff, delete extra blocks over here as well. Whatever I got to do to make more room, but we'll see. Glad you like it. This is my the most functional base that I've ever made. This was a very fun one. And the interesting thing here is that each wall of the pagoda is built on its own grid axis. So this wall is completely separate from this wall. So if you watch all the way up, you can see where this side and this side are clipping together because it's built on different things. Let me see the little house by the water. This thing? Or this? This looks more like a house. This is my pet barn. If you're, again, Harry Potter fan over here, so this is the boathouse from Harry Potter that I made, that I turned into a bug barn for my different bugs, and just made this little thing. If you go into my YouTube channel, I have a speed build video of how I built this whole thing as well. But this thing turned out freaking sick. I really like this. And this detail with the pallets that sticks through, huge fan. Works really well. But yeah, so these are all built on different grids, and it goes all the way up to the very top. Like, this is built essentially like this, where it comes up and around, and then is built up to this section. So that's how these details come together, is that's two separate faces coming together. Yeah, the bug house. The bug barn. But yeah, you can check out my YouTube. I have a short speed build video of that as well. And then this is the main floor. I love this base because the field station's inside of it. And then we got our jerky racks up on the top second level. This was an automatic water farm that I made, and then they added the mantis fountain, which made this completely useless. So the devs hate me. Just little stuff here. The idea behind this base is that there is one of every single item in the game in this base in one way, shape, or form. The only thing that is not in this base, and this includes bug mounts, stuffed bugs, every single item, every single weapon, every single picture, every single item in the game except for the ant queen mounts are in this base. That is 100% base. There's also an elevator system that goes up each level. And that's what the water collection thing looks like. I spent so much time building it, I couldn't be brought to stopping it. The field station is why I started building here, and then it snowballed completely out of control. But yeah, I have all the boss and tier 3 bug mounts in here. And again, on the inside here, you can see where the different walls all clip together as well, and floors. And then pretty much 360 degrees around the entire outside here is every single bug. So this is my bug museum. All the way around, every single one. And then you'd have to go all the way downstairs or into the elevator, which I like at least showing. So on the main floor, you come in here. Now, eventually I'll just put a teleporter, but I still enjoy my little bounce pad thing. So you bounce up here, bounce along these. Of course, I'm in handy nat, so that kind of messes it up. There's little storage spaces on each side, and then we have the armory space. Every single armor, every single weapon, all the infused weapons are up here now. Eventually, each one of these armor pieces, or at least one base set. So, like, there's some of these are weird combos and stuff to fill the space because there's not enough armor pieces. But, like, all the base sets will be fully upgraded, and I'll upgrade all the weapons as well at some point. Then there's outlook, like, view spaces. I really like how these crow awnings turned out. These are super cool. And then there's an upper level with an art museum that I'll show in a sec as well. Yeah, this goes 360 degrees around the whole thing. Then the art museum is the next level, which has every single piece of art in the game with all the crazy colors. And then this was my zipline base. And I had a zipline tower that went super high up, but then, as you say, you didn't know, and you have to get to New Game Plus 2, so you have to beat the game, do all the requirements, then you reset the game, or remix the yard, which then, in the second remix, so you can remix it indefinitely, and it just gets harder and harder, and some extra things unlock each time, up to a certain level. They add teleporters in the second one, so then you can teleport everywhere. And then this is like my lantern on top. And I have not finished this area. This area was done, and then with the teleporters, I changed it to be a teleporter base, like a hub. And I haven't quite finished this yet. And this used to glow from like way back, but they changed the rendering distances And I still want to mess with the top, but I just cut the tower off, and there was this like a bounce tower that went up here. There was a floating island, but then they patched the floating, so it wasn't working anymore. But yeah, that's the whole thing. Got all sorts of random bridges and stuff. Got sap collectors there. This keeps the infected bugs out. The range. There's a secret pathway down here into this little cliffside area. And this is my secondary chest where all my extra trinkets go. So I have a backup of every trinket in the game, just in case I were to lose one that you can't and not be able to get it back. Just in case, I can just come up here, grab one, and duplicate it. But I have a tour on my YouTube channel as well of this whole thing, and that has some of the building of it as well. The most recent tour has some build montages along with it. But yeah, that's the Pagota base. There's lots of other little details that I'm sure I didn't show off if you want to watch the base tour itself. That is the easier way to watch the whole thing, because I go through it step by step. And pretty soon here, potentially when we finish this next building, I might be doing a base tour of this whole thing, where it is. I really want to get a video out of this as well. I don't have, other than all the streams, I don't have hardly any videos on this whole build. So, then the YouTube videos get a lot more eyes on them typically. But yeah, that's what we're messing with. We're having fun. Being crazy. As you can see, I enjoy building in Grounded. Which of your builds is your favorite? It's got to be this cathedral. This thing's just so unique at this point. There's just like nothing else quite like it out there. And although I really, really like the outside, and I'm really happy with like how crazy this roof came out and everything, the inside of this thing was so much fun to build. I had some of my best creative moments making this thing. Drywall Eater. What's up, Fancy? Oh, man. It's a good name. It's a good name. This was a really fun build. I'm just like, every piece of this turned out incredible. With like the lighting lining up with each side. The lighting like is up in the ceiling. The tiled floor with lighting shining through it. And it's really hard to tell on PC, but there is like a slight gradient where it shifts from white to purple and white to green and white to red and white to blue. And then there's like the shrine with the termite organs. I don't know. This build was really, really fun. It's probably my favorite. It is always difficult to not mention the Pagota base because that's where everything started. And in terms of like an actual base, I think the Pagota is like perfect in my mind. Like I do plan on doing another playthrough from scratch, day one, starting over, potentially when this is done, or if I lose the build limit and I can't build anymore in this world. I'll start a new playthrough and I'm going to build the Pagota from scratch because I completely finished this entire build or very close to finished it. I still have some things I want to do now. Before they added in all these quarter blocks, which is what really took the building to a completely different level. The quarter triangles, the quarter blocks, the vertical half walls, like absolutely changed the building in this game. And I had so much of this base already done that I didn't really experiment with any of them. So at some point, I think I want to start another world and build the Pagota base from complete scratch. I've also thought about doing a stream showing how I built that as well, because I've been too lazy to make an actual build guide video because it's a horrible pain. And it's a difficult build to get started because of the way it is. And I haven't built it in a long time, so I'm nervous. So who knows? We'll see what happens. On top, if I had to say favorite builds in this thing specifically, not including the pagoda, it's a very close tie between this and the bathhouse. One, I love the outside with the plants being incorporated into it as sort of like garden boxes on each side. That turned out really well. I love the depth and material changes of this. And then the inside just turned out like magical. As corny as that sounds, like with you using the oasis and stuff for the hot tubs and the little bathhouse and stuff, and then like they're chandeliers, but they're also skylights. The roof pattern turned out really cool. The floor pattern turned out really cool. The wall patterns turned out really cool. It's just a really interesting build overall. This is a very close second, just because of the theming, and I love builds that incorporate like the built world of the grounded devs created. Anything that adds like natural elements into it one way or another, I really, really enjoy. Even like there's stuff inside. There's these plants inside that are used inside the hole, as well as the outside stuff that works a little bit better, but I'm pretty happy with how this whole thing turned out. This was a really fun build. It's even got like pathways and stairs that then go. This is a bounce elevator that gets you up to here. Then you come up and then you're in the pot palace, which is like a really perfect extension of this like oasis plant build to like incorporate the pots as well. I had a lot of fun doing these. And now that it's tied in so well to this too, like it's just turning out better than I ever could have hoped. Trust me, I never envisioned any of this when I first started. It was just like, what if I built a massive city in the sandbox and I just endlessly had stuff to build? Wouldn't that be really cool to do? And it just started with this ugly wall that I built in front here, and I just was like, what if I rebuilt the sandcastle? That would be a next base idea that I could make videos on. And then it's turned into this. Like, it's pretty nuts that it all worked out this way. And I've done like, I built this as like a wedding tiered wedding cake, just squares and mushrooms. Just mushroom square walls all the way up. None of this detail was here. And then I like moved and added and tore stuff down. I completely redid this whole thing. I completely redid this. That tower just used to be a chunky one of these. Like this wide, like as wide as this thing. Pretty much as wide as the top here is with this, but like this tall. So I was like, I completely redid that, turned this into like an actual functioning base. Because I haven't even really showed this off very well tonight. Like, this is my library of everything, is sort of the idea behind this one. So there's every armor set here. There's a single chest for every single item, like resource item in the game. And I even have chests left over. And just this crazy, another chandelier thing up here. Got this weird structural system and all this random stuff, and I'm slowly, as long as I have more space and stuff in the builds, the idea was to make these instead of the chests, as if these sort of looked like books on a bookshelf. Since the idea behind this was a library originally, I thought the chests were gonna have to go like up to the top to have one item in every chest for some reason, but that wasn't the case. So I had to pivot in that design a little bit, but I'm really happy with how this space turned out as well. But I never once pictured the square that I started with here turning into this crazy city. My brain can't even comprehend this level of creativity. It's a slow process. It's just little bits of creativity. And that's also where joining the Discord for anyone that likes building. Even if it's not grounded, I have other chats for people that want to build in other games, survival games and stuff, or games that have interesting build mechanics that I've messed with before. Enshrouded, Subnautica, Grounded, Minecraft. There's all sorts. There's a handful of chats in there. But many of the ideas that I utilize in these spaces, like someone told me when I was using this as a ceiling that if I used ash cement in the cracks, because there was holes, I was like, it'll look like mortar. And he's like, I've done that. And then I was like, what if I used it on the floor? And I was like, because of that one comment someone made, like this whole tiled floor thing came together. And then just little by little. You can also watch the top 10 build tips video I have on my YouTube that talks about kind of how I think through builds like this as well. It also has a lot of really cool images if you want to see more of these spaces. Grounded had stats like Minecraft. It'd be cool to see what some of your numbers are. In terms of like items used. Because like, yeah, all there really is like, I have 2,348 days. I have 100% of everything. All the gold cards, all the items, all the everything. Technically, I don't have all the achievements because they added some after I switched to custom. Yeah, all this stuff's upgraded, all the items. The only thing you can do is see the chopping list. Unfortunately, which does a really poor job because you can't scroll either. At one point, though, these were in the thousands each because of all the blueprints I had placed around the world. But it would be really cool to figure out how many like mushrooms I used in this world. How many mushroom walls of every kind. How many ash cement walls I've used. Or pieces of ash cement. How many foundation blocks have been placed. How many ridiculous, honestly. Quite ridiculous is what I will say. That half wall, that's weird. Oh. This. Trying to think of how this entrance is going to work. We're in the game planning phase. Because I've never really liked where these stairs are placed. And then as I had to raise this to get the antlions to stop attacking me. And so I've been trying to figure out of like what I'm even doing here. And I like the idea of this being a staircase up and getting rid of a bunch of this. Just sort of readjusting the way I'm working through this thing. But weirdly enough, there's something about this shape that I'm all of a sudden really interested in. Random, but just something interesting about it. I kind of want to start with maybe seeing if that's something I could make in an interesting way. You ever thought about doing floating lights like Harry Potter? I have. Unfortunately, there's not... I haven't been able to find a consistent way to get the lighting to float. Sometimes it floats when you delete things. I've noticed that the longer that lights are held up by something, the more likely they are to float and not delete for some reason and just become unsupported. But the idea for this is going to be the Great Hall. So we will do a big, like, multiple lines like this of tables. Who knows how it works? Something like that. Could go something like this. Who knows? And then do some stuff up here. We'll get all this detail added in. And then I was hoping... I just haven't found a consistent enough way to make the lights float to do floating lights throughout this whole thing. Funny enough that you mentioned that. So we'll see how it works. I just haven't been able to get it to do it consistently enough to where I want to put a bunch of effort into doing it right now. Because it's... if I can't do it consistently, it doesn't make it very enjoyable to mess with. So we will see if that becomes like an actual thing or not. Hopefully, though. And again, I'm kind of leaving the interior stuff for a slightly later time as well, just so I don't get screwed and run out of build space. Yeah. I'm going to make lamps float, but I don't know if that's the right look. I definitely just, if I was going to do it, I want the sap sconces. It's probably the only way I could really do it. The lamps would be a little maybe overkill. Hard to say, though. I can't say that 100% until I test it. This could be a very interesting entrance of some kind. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but kind of like it. Also do that. And as per usual, I'm always sort of looking at images on my second screen. Precedent images, ideas to get me rolling. Which I highly, highly recommend for anyone looking to build. Always look up precedent images to stare at for hours. Doesn't mean you copy them exactly, but oftentimes that's the easiest way to get started in a build. This is super funky and not at all what I was thinking, but I'm very interested in it all of a sudden. Doesn't even necessarily have to be like the building itself yet, which I think is kind of interesting. This becomes maybe slightly interesting raised areas and platforms to stand on the way I'm currently thinking about it. I also love adding in the garden patches to add in like more mushrooms and stuff. Always is a really cool detail to have. And then it just kind of fills these spaces in, which I like as well. So I don't know, something about this is weirdly interesting to me. I have no clue what these spaces could be yet. We will see. Even if they're just big platforms, like they don't even necessarily need to be anything too crazy. Like they could just end up being very random. Just be places for like some cool statues, similar to how I did that over there. Put some statues in here on the big entrance, and then the building sort of gets built behind it almost. That could be interesting. And that goes like out there, which I don't hate, making this maybe a little larger. Getting too big, who knows? I don't hate that. You could always make it shorter as well. The width is going to be nice. Yeah, then if this gets built up as the main wall that I was thinking, this is also where I wanted to like... I haven't built a whole lot of like very square buildings. A lot of them are very random in their shaping. I like the idea of doing some of this using the vertical walls in a way to like push and pull some of this stuff a little bit more in ways that I haven't really messed with as much and as I would have liked to, I think. A lot of these are built on angles as well, so they don't work as well that way. This is probably the squarest building I've made. Everything else ends up super random and weirdly shaped. So this will be a nice like contrast, I think, to the overall designs that are currently going in, and with all these just super random housing shapes that are going to be placed everywhere. Kind of a larger square type build, I think, is going to look kind of nice. That'll be a pretty good addition, I think. Gotta get rid of all this stuff. Don't even know if foundation's necessarily what we're going to use here, but I think I need to build this just in case. I don't want antlions to clip through. Bug me. These could always come down like level as well. Interesting. The ideas are flowing here. I really want this to be like a totally unique, interesting entrance. I'm also thinking like this could almost be a secondary entrance as well. Like these could be the main doors, the black and white door, and like one kind of jank, but maybe one. It's a way to do it. Hard to say. I don't hate that being there as well. It's also kind of fitting that this is maybe like the idea behind black and white is like yin and yang sort of thing. You get like a circle and a square, which is the closest thing you could do and ground it to that concept. Whereas like maybe this is an entrance, but not an entrance, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I don't know. I got many ideas in my head right now. I'm gonna have to spend a little bit of time kind of screwing with. I could do these stairs. Maybe not. I can find something to make that work better. But I also want the original idea was that like some sort of square towers here, similar to how the image sort of looks. But that's also where like I was talking to Luderav earlier, and he was like, what if you made this the House of White and Black from Game of Thrones, and one side was ash and one side is a mushroom? Maybe the way I do that is the overall thing is mushroom, but one side the details are mushroom and one side the details are ash cement. Or even like palisade or stem. The stem just doesn't look as good. Hard part. But that is sort of an interesting, like, even if it's maybe these front entrances sort of like use those details, and then it's still a mushroom build overall, but that's like one detail, one way to do this. Hard to say though. There's already some interesting things happening here, which I like to see. How these play out is still to be determined. None of this is definitely words. None of this is set in stone by any means currently. No, like much of this will probably get changed as we go, but this is how I tend to like play through ideas in my head. It's just like a partial entrance thing. I don't know. Could even be a way to get like enter and go down underneath here as well. I always love me some secret stairs. If possible to grow the black mushroom would be cool for the ash. The black mushroom. What black mushroom? I can't think of a black mushroom in the game. You can grow red and the toadstool and the mushroom chunk. You can grow the little white ones. You can grow sprigs. You can grow clover. Clover would be interesting as well in some of these spaces. Doesn't all have to be mushrooms, but it's sort of the mushroom kingdom, so that part does fit a bit. Can't think of the black mushroom though. Not like anything coming to mind. And also grow grass, but boring. If there was a black mushroom, you best believe I'd be using that thing all the time. But that's just me. I love me some black and white color palettes. Very monotoned, typically. Curious which mushroom you're thinking of. I literally can't think of what that is. Maybe I just have a picture of it different in my head. What it is. There's some thoughts happening here though that I like. This. Even if it's just that. That's kind of interesting too. Sort of build these walls up, but not. And then it starts there, or these could even go further down, and this doesn't need to be foundation blocks. It could be anything. I wish there was more. It's where they are in the game. Maybe they can't be farmed. I just can't think of a black mushroom anywhere. There's like, in a tunnel somewhere, there's some weird yellowish mushrooms. There's, of course, the fungus mushroom things on the tree. That's about the darkest thing I can think of. I can't think of a black mushroom of any kind. Unless I'm just being really stupid. But the only mushrooms are those, the toadstool chunks, and the stuff on the tree. Are you thinking the fungal stuff from the haze? Really black though. Oh, look, an infused moth. I swear, like, all of the moths are infused on my world. That one's infused as well. Yeah, the only other thing I can think of is the fungal stuff. There's no other mushrooms. Maybe you're crazy. Yeah, I can't think of a black mushroom of any kind. But in terms of what can be built, there's not, or grown, there's not a whole lot of options. I really, if there was, they'd be everywhere in this world. I can promise you that. But yeah, like, in terms of what can be built in a garden patch, it's just, this is everything in this farm that can be built. You got the main mushrooms, the other mushrooms. There's big and small versions of them. You can super grow the white mushrooms. These are like the ones you pick up off the ground. They can become super growth. Same with like sprigs. They can become super growth, and then these as well. And you can get clovers and the cloves. But these are all of, and then the mussel sprouts. But other than that, there's nothing else. These would be more, I need to use these more though, for sure. Those would look really good in some of these entrance spaces where I don't necessarily need massive mushrooms. Like some of the stuff on the side of these buildings are not a bad place for them here either, honestly. This pathway becomes really... That's actually a perfect spot to, like, change this angle a bit. Make this building more interesting. That works well, actually. Could even... So close. That could be an interesting way to do it. Who knows? Alrighty. It is 10:30. I'm going to call it here for the night. I got a bunch of stuff I got to kind of think through before I continue building. So I should be back tomorrow night. I might be a little bit later tomorrow night. I'm going to have my son by myself. So we will see if he gets to bed at a normal time or if he wants to stay up and be crazy with me like he typically does. So not sure, but it should be around 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's usually within 30 plus or minus 30 minutes of that. They are in the haze? Are you just talking about... like the fungus? Now I'm interested, because I can't think of any of it. After this, though, I'm calling it. Oh, these ones. No, these are just normal mushrooms that are reskinned. These would be really cool. I don't know why these aren't an option. True. I always forget about these because they just drop the same thing that the other mushrooms drop. But no, you cannot build these, sadly. Nope, everything that I had in the garden patches is it. So, show me all the builds and have a nice nighttime and a nice nighttime stream. No problem. I'm here pretty much every Monday through Friday currently. So, it's usually like one day a week that I'm not able to stream. But it's usually around then. I appreciate everyone hanging out. Thanks for chatting, hanging out with me. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Good day tomorrow, and hopefully I'll see you again. Catch you on the next one. Peace.